Hello YouTubers, this is Mike from Hutter's Bees, and I'm going to show you how to make your own beehive frames. Now you can spend money on the internet and you can buy these really nice frames. They've got all the bells and whistles, they've got the proper grooves in it, they're nice and tight, they've got staples, they've got the foundation, or you can buy it foundationless frames that does not have this as the foundation. That's good, and if that's your only option, if do not have the ability to do that, that's fine. The way I look at it is, by the time I pay $3 or $4 a frame, plus I buy 10 frames and they put $30 of shipping on top of that, you start spending a lot of money on frames. So being a beekeeper for a lot of years, I say, how can I be more frugal and make them myself? Because I go through sometimes a lot of frames. I've got a lot of hives. So what I did is I made my own frames here. You can see they don't have all the bells and whistles. They're just basically a block type of a frame. They don't sit in the grooves, but you know what? These are just as good as these other frames, and a lot cheaper to make. And here's basically what you need to make them. I buy a 1 by 6 by 8 foot long piece of pine board. Make sure that they're straight. I turn them sideways and make sure I don't have any bows or twist in the lumber. So I'll buy a few of these. Okay. Then I do have some foundation that I bought, but what I do is I'll trim. You can see how much smaller this is and that. I trim that down and get 5 or 6 strips out of one of these pieces here, that I can make 5 or 6 frames out of one piece of foundation. So, and I also have fishing line. This is a 14 pound fishing line. It's very good to use, and it's 300 yards, so that's going to last you forever. Because you can see, if I turn this a little bit, you can see I've got line in between the top bar of that frame and the bottom bar, and that gives the comb stability when the bees draw it out and you're trying to look at the bees on the frame, and that wire will end up in between there, that fishing line, and it will give it strength and it won't fall apart on you. So here's what we're going to do, and I'm going to make this quick. I'm not going to show you an example of me cutting everything. I'm just going to tell you what I did and show you how to do it. So this is basically what you're going to come up with when you get done. Is you're going to have 4 pieces of wood. You're going to have your foundation and your fishing string and your glue, and you can get a brad nailer. I have a pneumatic one with my air compressor, or you can buy an electric brad nailer. It's just as good. So if you're going to do some frames, it's worth the investment. So what I do is I start with the top bar, which is this bar right here on your frame. And what I do is the board here is already, like I said, it's a 1 by 6, which means it's a 1 inch thick by 6 inches wide. And that's what it is at the mill before they trim it down. So actually it's 3/4 inches, and I believe about 5.5 inches wide. So I want to keep that 3/4 of an inch, because that is going to be my distance between here and here. It's going to be 3/4 of an inch. Then I want to take this on my table saw and I'm going to rip it down. I'm going to set my gate at 1 inch, and that's going to be the distance between here and here. It's going to be 1 inch. So it's going to be 1 inch here, 3/4 inches here. So I'll rip a long piece off of there. Then I cut it down to just under 19 inches, because most of your standard hive bodies on the Langstroth, they are 19 inches from this inside lip to this inside lip. That's not counting the ledge here. So it's 19 inches from there to here. So I want to cut it just a hair short, so that when I put that frame in there, it's got a little bit of wiggle room. I don't want to go too small, because then you're going to have your frame falling in like that, and that's not what I want. But I do want to be able to get in and out without having to jam these down into the box. So I cut it at about maybe 19 or 18 and 15/16, or 18 and 7/8. It's probably the max I'd go on it. but I go ahead and cut that to length at about 18 and 15 sixteenths. Okay, so now I have a piece of wood that's a 1 inch wide, 18 and 15 sixteenths long, 3/4 inch deep. Okay, then I'm going to go and I'm going to cut these grooves in the side that are going to hold my sidebars. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go 1 inch in from the outside edge to this right here is going to be 1 inch. Okay, and deep this way I want to go 3/16 of an inch. Not a lot, just enough to hold it there. So 3/16 of an inch, and I'm going to get something that looks like this. Okay, then the next thing I want to do, and the last thing we do with this top bar, is I'm going to go over to my table saw. I'm going to put my saw blade down to where it's just going into the wood. You can see my groove here that I made. It's not a set gap for me. I mean, you just want something that you can push the edge of your foundation into, and that foundation is just about the right thickness to where when the blade thickness of your blade on your table saw, this thickness here will go in there real tight, so you don't have to worry. Just one pass will do on your table saw, and you want to get it just deep enough to where you have a good grip on it, but it doesn't have to go halfway up, or I just go once again about maybe a little more than 3/16. It might even be a 1/4 inch deep, and then I'll set the gate on the table saw so my saw goes pretty much right in the middle of this piece of wood, and then I'll run it through there and get my groove. So once you do that, that's it on your top bar. You're not having to make all these other fancy cuts and angles, and you're ready to go with this. On the bottom bar, same kind of a thing we're going to do here. So we're going to go 16 and 7/8 inch from this end to this end. And what we want to do just like we did with these top bars, we want to take it out of this board. And we're going to use that 3/4 inch width on this board here, and just get it, we want to rip it about 3/4 of an inch wide, okay, on your table saw. So you're going to run long strips on your table saw, and then you just cut them down at the proper length there. And it's pretty simple, because once you cut that down, the only thing you're going to do after you've got your 3/4 inch wide strip is you're going to put your little groove in there just like you did on your top bar. You're going to set your table saw just to where it just goes into the wood. Let me get this here. I shake a little bit. So just into the wood, and you're going to put one pass on the table saw to give you a groove like that. Okay, so now you have your top bar and your bottom bar. And then for our side pieces, I apologize, I had to put down the phone to real quick make sure of my measurements there. But you're going to want a 1 inch wide piece on your sidebars, because this 1 inch on the sidebar, or if you look at here, this 1 inch here on this sidebar is going to match up with your 1 inch width on your top bar. So you want it 1 inch wide and about 1/4 of an inch deep, deep. 1 inch wide, 1/4 inch deep. And then what you want to do, that's all you need to do on this strip here. And let me see if now it escapes me, but you're going to have them 6 inches long, okay? So you want to make them 6 inches long, 1 inch wide, about 1/4 inch deep. Then I just take my drill and I'll put 2 holes in it. And it doesn't matter the size of the holes or how far apart they are. You just want to kind of space them to where you figure you have the top bar here, bottom bar here. You want to give it a little bit of space so that when they're building the comb, that string will go through 2 places kind of spaced out on the comb. So what you're going to have is when you drill the holes, you're going to have that right there. Just enough to where you have a good gap to hold up the comb that they're going to make. Okay, next step. Now you have all these things together. You want to trim down a piece of your foundation. Okay, so let me get this ready and I'll show you this as well. Okay, so on this foundation, what I do is I just get a little strip of wood that's partway straight, and I'm going to put it just where I want it to be. You can give them this much of a starter strip, or you can give them a little bit more of a starter strip. I usually give them right at about this much. It doesn't have to be technical, just give them enough to get started on. I usually give them about that much. So I'm going to trim this and show you what it looks like. So I've taken my utility knife and I ran it along the inside of this wood like this, cut me off a starter strip, and so now we have everything we need to have to make this frame. Okay, so let me show you what we're going to do first. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this top frame, or this top bar, and we're going to take a little bit of glue and we're going to put it right in the corners. All right, just enough to hold it for a minute. Then we're going to take these side bars, we're going to turn this bar sideways, we're going to put these in, and we're going to use my pin gun to pin it. So give me 1 second and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I was trying to set up my camera tripod, but I'm not very good at it. So what you're doing is you're just taking this piece here, taking this piece here, taking your brad nailer, and you're going to put one nail up on the top and one nail down in the bottom just to kind of hold it for a second. I'll show you what it looks like after I do that on both sides. Okay, now I've put a nail in each one of these, just a little pin nail on the side. You can see it right there. And then I want to stand this up, and I just stand it up and just kind of wiggle it a little bit, get it pretty straight. Because you can tell pretty much where straight is on this. And you want to take your little pin nailer, get it where it's pretty much straight, and stick a nail or two in there. Just like that. Do the same with the other side. It's a lot easier when you use both hands, but since I have the phone in one hand, I'm trying to show you while I do it like this. So when you got both hands, you can get it more square. Let me try and maybe do it this way. So you're putting it up there. Get your pin nailer into position. Give it a quick nail or two, just like that. And then what you got is you've got your top bar and your two side pieces. Then what I want to do is I want to bring this over here, get my bottom bar ready. Usually I do this just on a regular table. Let me get this piece of wood out of the way and we'll go from there. Okay, so now I've put it on a flat surface there. I'm going to take this, make sure your groove's on the inside, facing towards the top, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on both ends of this here, and then I'm going to nail it. I'm going to put a pin nail in here and here, and I'll show you that as well when it's done. Okay, so this is what it looks like so far. Once again, I put that bottom bar in. Took my pin gun, put a couple nails in there to just hold that. And this frame is really, really sturdy right now. I've got 2 pin nails on each one of the top bars, two pin nails on the bottom bars. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some string. Well, first I'll go ahead and I'll put the starter strip in here. And what you're going to do is you're just going to turn this upside down, get this in here, lay it in here like this, pick it up and push it in until you get it down in those grooves. And I'll show you that in just a second when it's done. Okay, once again I apologize. I'm doing this all one-handed. I guess I could have got one of my kids to come and film this while I did it. But anyway, That's what it looks like when your starter strip is in there. What I did is I just put it in the groove and I grabbed it like this and I just pushed down into the groove. And you can see it's a pretty good tight fit. It's not going anywhere. And the beads will build on that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to cut myself a piece of fishing line. Get about a 3-foot long piece of fishing line, and then I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, I did fail to mention that you're also going to need you a stapler, so you can staple this fishing line in there and hold it into place. So what I do is I start off by taking this fishing line that you can see kind of in my hand, and I'm going to run that in to this hole right here. I'm going to bring the tail on the outside here, and I'm going to staple it on the outside. So it's going to kind of look like this here. The fishing line comes out of the hole. I've got a staple that staples it on the inside. Then I'm going to run that line. I'm going to pull it through from there in through this hole. Bring it around the outside. So you can see how I brought it around the outside, put it back into this hole, run it through the bottom into this second hole and out, and then I'm going to put a second staple right there to hold it. So I've got a staple holding the initial tail or the initial head of that line. I zigzagged it through, and then when it comes through the last part, I've got a staple as well right there. So you have 2 staples, and your line will look like this, and it'll be nice and strong. So basically, once you do that, this is what you have. You've got a finished product. It's a lot cheaper than buying one of those. And once again, it fits right into your Langstroth hive box, which is a 19-inch gap. And what I did is you could either just space these out, get yourself a little spacer bar. Kind of looks like this, but it's plastic where you can put it in there and space them out that way. Or what I did is I went and bought these little push pins at Walmart. And they're just little push pins, little square push pins. And they're right at about 3/16 of an inch wide. And if I put one on each side on the end and put them like this in here, you can see where if I push it all the way up against there, it holds that into place. Now I've taken the push pins off of this one that I was showing you, but you put push pins on all of these, you get 2 per frame. They're real cheap, and then you've got proper spacing there. And so YouTube friends, that's how you make a cheap frame for yourself. You can buy once again, these 1 by 6 by 8 foot pieces of lumber, pine. Get the real nice straight pieces. You can buy 3 or 4 of those, and you can get probably about 40 frames out of that. And so that's a lot cheaper than going to the internet and spending your money to buy these along with the shipping cost. And you can do it yourself. If you don't have the woodworking tools, yeah, by all means buy that, or get a friend that has woodworking tools. Tell them, hey man, I'll give you $20 if you make all these for me. So that's a good option. Tell me what you think about this video. Give me a like, thumbs up, subscribe to the station. I've got the next video I think I'm going to do is going to be how to build a inexpensive hive box. And that'll be next. Thank you. Thanks for watching.